Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Anna Jensen, and I am the co-founder of the Mortal Path Alliance. And I'm coming to you today with 3 questions for Ms. Jamie Marie Robinson. Hey, Jamie, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Good, good.
Good.
So, um, you did or helped out with a collaborative spell that we posted on the Mortal Path Alliance to help harness the power of the inauguration and do some good with it. And you put your own spin on your spell. And so I want to share what you did with others. But first, question one. So we're calling this a death ritual. So,
hmm
in your words, what does that mean to you? Because that can maybe sound a little scary to some people, like, oh my God, are we killing people? Not quite.
Totally get it. Well, for me personally, giving death, like doing a death ritual, especially with an idea, is basically killing the thought process, the behaviors behind an idea, and subsequently giving rebirth to something new. So to me, it doesn't feel as though it's bad or like the negative connotations associated with death. Is very cathartic. It's like you're letting go. You're killing off that which no longer serves you, and not to a detriment, but to a betterment. So that's the way I look at it.
Yes, exactly. We are killing off old Columbia, the idea of old America, and feeding that into rebirth and strengthening of New Columbia. Because she
Yay.
stands for things that we support.
Hey.
Yes. So this spell, this ritual harnesses the all of the transitional power, that liminal power of the inauguration that's coming up in a couple of days. So there's a big transfer of power. We're harnessing that as part of this ritual. But when we say we're harnessing it, what does that actually mean in practical terms?
Practical terms or Jamie terms? Because there's two things. Um, but if we're talking practicality, harnessing the power behind something, when I envision it in my brain, I look at it like a cyclone that's like kind of going through the realm and taking up things and just swirling it around and redirecting it somewhere else. So whenever I think of a ritual or spell in which I'm gathering power or harnessing something, I always envision it like throwing what I need into the cyclone to send it elsewhere so it can do what it needs to do. Like if we're getting rid of this vision of old Columbia, this vision of old America, we need to throw all that shit into something that's going to take it away from us or take it elsewhere so it can do what it needs to do, but not for us.
Exactly. And when you say a cyclone, so when a big event like this happens, that's really in everyone's consciousness, creating that psychic energy.
Mhm.
Is it in your mind? Is that where that cyclone comes from?
Actually, yes, because in my practice, I believe that thoughts are energy. And because of what's going on in this nation currently, what's unsaid is more powerful than what's been being said. Yes, there was an attack on the Capitol by like a couple of thousand people, but think of the millions that aren't saying how they feel. Their thoughts are in the stratosphere. And from my practice, that is something that you can harness and grab. So, like, if there's millions of people thinking negatively towards the growth of the American country, to be more accepting of the very people that they imported for no reason. But anyways, to be more accepting of others when we're supposed to be built on that pillar, those thoughts can be harnessed and used elsewhere. Same thing with those who are wishing for change. Those that are wishing for change are constantly thinking into the universe like, oh my God, I wish this would change. This is not just the physical protesters, but those who are suffering in silence, those who are having anxiety attacks on whether they can even go outside because COVID's around. So you take those energies and swirl them and do something with them, harness them for good. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of your practice, so you adapted the base ritual that we shared to better suit your practice. So tell us a little bit more about your personal practice and tell us how you went about adapting the base ritual to be more in the style of what you practice.
Yay, awesome. So I am a voodoo practitioner, Louisiana voodoo to be specific, because Haitian and Louisiana voodoo are different. Um, so I adopted it to fit within the Louisiana. I can't say where I'm fucking from. Can I curse? I just cursed.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, always.
New Orleans, Louisiana voodoo dichotomy. Yes. All right. So, um, because my guides and lore require different things to work. So we had the base ritual, which was based on the 9 primal powers. And we also had like the envisioning of writing things down, of casting off that energy of old Columbia and bringing in new Columbia, giving power to new Columbia. So I sat with the spell for a minute and I thought about how I could incorporate that into the way that we give death to an ideal in voodoo. How do we kill off things that no longer serve us? And how do we give power to other things that we want to give rise to? So I adapted the spell by using the colors that we have for the American flag, which are red, white, and blue, the notorious colors. And I also took a jumbo black candle, which is essential in voodoo for a 7-day working. So I use the red candle to represent New Columbia because I wanted to give her strength and courage in her battle. And I used the blue and the white as pillars to kind of hold the spell, kind of giving a like segue between um, New Columbia and the old ideals of Old Columbia. So to represent Old Columbia, I chose a jumbo black candle and marked it off with 7 markings for a 7-day working. So the way that energy works and the way that we reverse things in voodoo is to slowly kill it off, because we believe that as energy mounts, it's kind of like if you throw a baseball, the momentum behind the baseball, it starts off slow, but by the time it hits its target, it could break it. So
Mhm,
you don't give all the energy to a spell at once when you're trying to really get that, I broke your windows type of energy.
mhm.
So I had the 7-day candle and I notched it off for 7 workings. I said an incantation over it. We usually use Psalms for our spells. Um, so I said my incantation over that, started that for the 7-day working, and lit the blue and white candles as pillars so that they could burn the full 7 days until Biden is inaugurated. And also burned the red Columbia candle until she basically fell into a pile of wax and I leave her by a church. So with voodoo, I mentioned the candles, but we also believe in certain herbs and oils for working the spells. So I dress the candles with Van Van oil, which is for protection. And I dressed it with wormwood to kind of send an astral signal to my guides in the plane. I also use High John the Conqueror root and Galangal root. So the way that root work works in voodoo is those tools that you're using are sending vibrations to your guides and the Loas to tell them what you need them to do. So I'm like, hey, okay, I need you to protect us, but at the same time, I need you to go set it off
Mhm.
because America cannot stay the way that it is right now. And yeah, that's pretty much how I adapted it.
Yeah, I love it. So many of the elements are the same. You're using red, white, and blue candles. We were using red, white, and blue ribbon. We had our incantation 9 times to address each of the primal forces. You mentioned you had written down your incantation 9 times. The old to banish and the new with the new intention for New Columbia. Um,
Absolutely.
so,
Yeah.
So I love this example of two very different approaches coming from two different disciplines of will working, but still collaborating to feed the same positive intentions.
Absolutely. And that's like the main point of spirituality and witching to me. It's like we all have different approaches to how we witch, but it's like do what feels good to you and make sure that your intentions are there and just send it to the universe. Like there's no right or wrong way, but as long as we're getting those intentions out there with force, that's what means the most. Because
Well,
thoughts are power, like we were just talking about. So,
yes, ma'am. Oh, I
mhm.
felt it. I felt it. I know you felt
Yeah,
it too.
yeah, thoughts are definitely power. So whatever you give your strength to or your innermost thought process to, it can manifest. So yeah.
Here's hoping. Well,
Mm,
thank you so much, Jamie, for asking my or for answering my three questions today.
yay.
So, Jamie is also a practitioner for the Mortal Path Alliance. And most exciting, she has a new podcast coming out pretty soon. Do you want to talk about that just for a second?
Absolutely. So in my working with Anna and Clark and my voodoo practice, there are a lot of old arts that are dying. In voodoo, we're very passionate about transition and death. Like we have a whole Loa centered around death. And in my culture, it's not something that we're afraid of. It's something that we actually have rules by. Like to this day, if you go to New Orleans, people will cover their mirrors after someone dies because it's ingrained in our culture. And when I moved up north, I noticed that people have like a really different association with death. Like it's very grief based. It's very don't talk about it based. It's very like, I'm afraid based. And I've never gotten used to that. And my way of comforting my friends when it happens is very different than what they're used to. So I decided it's about high time that I not only begin helping with death work with Clark and Anna, but having a podcast talking about death being natural, whether it's physical death, whether it's a mental death of an idea that no longer serves you, whether it's a death of a relationship, it's okay. And so that's primarily what my podcast is going to be about, bringing death to things that no longer serve you, bringing in resurrection and peace, and a couple of other paranormal stuff. We're going to talk about ghost stories, might have an alien tale or two, but it's going to be interesting no matter what. So
Love it.
hope you guys watch
And tell
or
us what that
listen.
podcast is going to be called.
Pearls and gunpowder, which I'm very excited about.
So good.
Yay.
All right. Well, thank you, Jamie, one more time, and hope y'all found this video helpful.
Yay. Thanks, guys. Much obliged.